Have you ever promised yourself something and already known somewhere inside that you probably won't do it? You say, tomorrow I'll start. And a part of you quietly thinks, we both know how this ends. That's a dangerous place to be, because when you stop trusting yourself, you don't just lose discipline, you lose the person you were supposed to be able to rely on. And the frightening part? You may not even realize it's happening. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly, one promise at a time, one delay at a time, one I'll do it tomorrow at a time. You decide you're going to wake up early, you set the alarm, you imagine the morning, you imagine yourself getting up, being productive, finally becoming the person you've been trying to become. Then the alarm rings. You're tired, so you tell yourself just 5 more minutes. 5 minutes becomes 30, and the moment disappears. You don't think much about it, but your brain does. Then you promise yourself you'll work out tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, you don't. You promise yourself you'll stop wasting hours on your phone. Then you find yourself scrolling again. You promise yourself you'll finally work on that goal. Another night passes, and eventually, something inside you starts changing. Your promises become less powerful. Not because the words changed, because the evidence did. Your brain is constantly watching what you do. And there's a simple rule behind this. Your brain trusts your behavior more than your intentions. You can tell yourself you're disciplined, but your brain looks at what you repeatedly do. You can tell yourself you're focused. Your brain looks at where your attention actually goes. You can tell yourself you're going to change. Your brain looks at whether you keep showing up. This is why positive thinking can only take you so far. You can repeat, I can do this. I can do this, I can do this. But if your actions keep saying the opposite, eventually your brain believes the actions. And that's where self-trust begins to disappear. Think about another person. Imagine a friend tells you, I'll be there at 7. They don't show up. Next week they say the same thing. They don't show up again. Then they promise, this time seriously. Would you trust them? Probably not. Not because you hate them. Not because you want them to fail. Because you've seen the pattern. Your brain does the same thing with you. And here's the part most people never notice. You are both the person making the promise and the person keeping the score. Every time you say you'll do something, your brain records it. Every time you follow through, you add evidence. Every time you break your word, you remove evidence. Think of it like a bank account. Every kept promise is a deposit. Every broken promise is a withdrawal. One withdrawal doesn't matter. Neither does one deposit. But do it hundreds of times. And eventually there's a balance. That's your self-trust. And this explains something that confuses a lot of people. Why can someone be extremely intelligent, know exactly what they should do, and still struggle to take action? Because knowledge isn't always the missing piece. Sometimes belief in your own follow-through is, you know the workout will help. You know studying matters. You know your phone is stealing your attention. You know the project could change your future, But somewhere inside, there's another voice saying, how long will this last? And that question is powerful because when you expect yourself to quit, you stop taking your own plans seriously. You don't fully commit. You keep an escape route. You tell yourself, I'll try, instead of I'm doing this. And when discomfort arrives, you take the escape route. Then you use the result as evidence. See? I knew I couldn't do it. But you didn't prove that you're incapable. You proved that your current pattern is stronger than your current intention. That's a completely different thing. And patterns can change. But there's a trap here. When people realize they're unhappy with themselves, they often try to fix everything at once. They create the perfect routine. Wake up at 5 a.m., read for an hour, meditate, exercise, eat perfectly, work for 8 hours, no social media, no distractions, new life, new identity, new person. And for a few days, it feels incredible. Because imagining a better version of yourself is easy. Living like that version is harder. Eventually, you're tired. Something goes wrong. You miss one habit, then another, and suddenly the perfect routine becomes another abandoned plan. Now you don't just feel disappointed, you feel betrayed by yourself, and you make the mistake of thinking, I need more discipline. Maybe you don't. Maybe you need smaller promises. Because if you've spent months or years teaching your brain that your promises don't last, you can't rebuild that trust with one giant declaration. You rebuild it with evidence. Start ridiculously small. Don't promise yourself 5 hours of deep work. Promise 30 minutes. Don't promise yourself a completely new lifestyle. Promise one action. Don't say, "I'll never waste time again." Say, "For the next 30 minutes, my phone stays away." And then, do it. That's it. No dramatic transformation, no inspirational speech, no announcement, just evidence. You said you'd do something, and you did. Tomorrow, do it again, then again, and something subtle begins to happen. Your brain starts updating its prediction. The old prediction was, "You probably won't follow through." The new evidence says, "Maybe he will." Then, he usually does. And eventually, when he says he's going to do something, he does it. That's when discipline starts feeling different. You aren't constantly fighting yourself anymore. You aren't negotiating every decision. You don't need to manufacture motivation every morning, because your behavior has started becoming predictable in a good way. And that's what real confidence looks like. Not saying, "I know I can do anything." Real confidence is quieter. It's, "I know I can rely on myself." That's much harder to fake, and much harder to destroy. But there's another side to this. You're going to fail. Even after you start rebuilding yourself. You'll have a bad day, you'll waste an evening, you'll miss a workout, you'll procrastinate, you'll make the wrong decision. And this is where another dangerous pattern begins. You fail once, then you attack your identity. "I always do this. I'm lazy. I have no discipline. I'll never change." Now, one mistake has become a story. And the story becomes permission to repeat the mistake. That's how a bad day becomes a bad week, and a bad week becomes an identity. So learn this. A mistake is data. It isn't a definition. You don't need to be perfect to trust yourself. You need to know that when you fall, you return. That's one of the strongest promises you can make. Not, "I'll never fail." But if I fail, I won't abandon myself. Because self-trust isn't the belief that you'll always make the right decision. It's the belief that you'll deal with yourself honestly when you don't. You'll correct the mistake. You'll come back, you'll try again, you'll keep moving. And slowly you become someone you don't have to constantly motivate. You become someone you can rely on. Think about that for a second. The person you're trying to become isn't just someone with more money, more success, a better body, a better career, a bigger house, more followers. Those things are visible. But underneath all of them is something much more important. The relationship you have with yourself. Because imagine having everything you wanted, but not trusting yourself to maintain it. Imagine achieving a goal, and immediately wondering whether you can repeat the success. Imagine having freedom, but constantly needing someone else to tell you what decision to make. That's not real confidence. The strongest version of you isn't the person who never struggles. It's the person who knows, "I can struggle and still move forward." And that version of you isn't created by one huge decision. It's created in tiny moments nobody sees. When you want to scroll, but finish the task first. When you want to quit, but give yourself another 10 minutes. When you say you'll wake up and actually get out of bed. When you tell yourself you'll start, and you start before you feel ready. Those moments look insignificant. They're not. They're votes. Every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. And eventually, the votes become a pattern. The pattern becomes behavior. The behavior becomes identity, and the identity changes what you believe is possible. That's why the goal isn't to become perfect. The goal is to become credible to yourself. So tonight, don't make another massive promise. Don't say, "Tomorrow I'll change my entire life." You've probably said that before. Instead, choose one thing, one small thing, something specific, something you can actually control. Finish the task you've been avoiding. Put the phone away for 30 minutes. Go for the walk. Do the workout. Write the first paragraph. Open the book. Start the thing. And when you do it, don't underestimate what just happened. You didn't simply complete a task. You kept your word. You made a deposit. You gave your brain new evidence. And tomorrow, make another deposit, then another. Until one day, you make a promise to yourself. And there's no argument inside your head. No doubt. No negotiation. Just certainty. Because you've built enough evidence to believe yourself again. And maybe that's the real transformation. Not becoming someone completely different, but becoming someone you can finally depend on. So if you've been feeling stuck, don't immediately call yourself lazy. Don't assume you're broken, and don't keep searching for another perfect system. Ask yourself something harder. What promises have I been making to myself that I've stopped believing? Be honest. You probably already know. And now ask one more question. What's the smallest promise I can keep today? Start there. Not next Monday. Not next month. Today. Because your future isn't built by the promises you make when you're motivated. It's built by the promises you keep when nobody is watching. And motivation is nowhere to be found. And if this video made you look at yourself a little differently, don't let it become another piece of information you consume and forget. Take one idea from it, one action, and use it. And if you want more videos that make you stop, think, and understand the psychology behind the person you're becoming, subscribe to Beyond Focus. But before you leave, make yourself one promise. Something small, something real. And then, keep it. Because the person who changes your life isn't coming. It's you. And maybe you don't need to become someone new. Maybe you just need to give yourself enough evidence to believe in yourself again. Start with the next promise. And this time, keep it.